interception. Incomplete pass at the New York Giants 30.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. And welcome to the Gridiron. And before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much, everyone out there who's been watching my videos. Thank you. If you give this maybe a video a thumbs up, or possibly leave a comment below, or maybe even share this video, it would mean so much to me. But at least anyway, thank you so much for just taking time out of your day to check out this video. Thank you. Well, here we are, guys. We're getting down to precious few, aren't we? Week 13. The dreaded 4-7 Giants versus the 5-7 Dolphins. Now, as been most of this season, obviously the Giants have injuries every week, but as we've mostly seen this season, the Giants' injuries usually far surpass any injuries that the other team has, and this week is once again no exception. The Dolphins have a few guys a little nicked up here and there, but they have nobody out, unlike the Giants. The Dolphins, they got Philip Lindsay. He's doubtful. I like that guy. A lot of heart. He's always, I guess because of his size, it always seems like he's a little banged up. But I always loved watching him run, especially when he was with Denver. Then they got the Adam Shaheen, their tight end. He's doubtful. Trill Williams, he's doubtful. Their safety, Brandon Jones, and linebacker Jaelan Phillips. I was in the draft. I was always keeping an eye. I just wanted to see where he was going to possibly wind up going. But anyway, Brandon Jones and Jaelan Phillips, they're questionable. So I mean, there's a chance that they might wind up playing, but they have nobody, out. Once again, unlike the Giants. Giants get Trent Harris, Adoree Jackson, Caden Smith. I guess his knee is just too bad. He's listed in the injury report every week, but he's always like, kind of questionable or whatever. Now he's out with his knee, so I don't know how long he'll be out for. And the same thing with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is out with his neck. You don't know if it's going to be just this 1 week, or if it's going to be a little bit longer, or if it's going to be maybe the rest of the season. We'll have to wait and see. But we got Mike Lennon in there. We also had to put Darnay Holmes on the injury reserve. So, but we do have Logan Ryan coming back. But it's a lot of times what winds up happening with the Giants, like they'll maybe get a wide receiver back, but when they get one wide receiver back, two go on the injury list. So it was with the defensive backs. Adoree Jackson is out. Darnay Holmes on the injury reserve, so he's out. But we are getting Logan Ryan back. So we got Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney. They're doubtful. Be nice, maybe Sterling Shepard will be able to play sometime this year. Maybe we'll see him in there for another game. Guy's always hurt. I don't think next year, but I think in 2023, I think because I think they can save about $9.5 million, I think, by letting him go in 2023. It might be a $4 million cap hit, but I mean, the guy's always hurt. I mean, his first year or two, he was actually able to stay healthy, but I mean, since then, nope. And then you got Kadarius Toney. He plays a couple games or a game, then he's out for a game. Then he comes back and he plays a game and he's out for a game or two. It's just sometimes I don't know. How do these guys make it through college? I mean, I know Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard were not that hurt in college. That I do know. The Giants got Colin Calaspia, their fullback, John Ross, Kyle Rudolph, and Nate Solder. They're all questionable. So if Nate Solder can't go, we're going to have Andrew Thomas and Matt Parrott. So Matt Parrott is going to get his chance to see what he can do if Nate Solder can't go. Have to wait and see. Then of course, as I said, we got Mike Lennon in there for Daniel Jones now. He's not. These two are not a winning combo, shall we say. Daniel Jones is 12 and 25. He's got a 324 winning percentage. Mike Glennon is as a starter. He's 6 and 21. He's been in the league since 2013. Obviously, in his first few years or whatever, like he was, pretty much a starter. But as time's gone on, he's just more and more like a backup. His winning percentage is 286, so it's even worse than Daniel Jones. Glennon actually hasn't won a start since 2017, so it's been 4 years since he's won a start. He went 0-5 last year. It's, I guess, not saying nothing that horrible. The Jaguars were 1-15, so he went 0-5 starting last year. So, but in the game against the Cowboys, he was 16 out of 25, threw for 196 yards. He did have the one touchdown pass, but he also had 2 interceptions. But he was slinging it. We had some guys injured. Saquon wasn't in there. Saquon twisted his ankle early on, so Saquon wasn't in there. So, for what Mike had, he did a decent job. It's just the turnovers just wound up being killers there. But he's going to have to be on his P's and Q's without question today when they play the Dolphins. But he's not so much of a if you look at his quarterback rating, Mike Glennon's quarterback rating is an 83.1. Certainly not super spectacular by any stretch of the imagination. But Daniel Jones is 84.3. So he's right there with Daniel Jones. Eli Manning is 84.1. Daniel Jones' quarterback rating is even better than Eli Manning. Hard to believe, but Eli's an 84.1, Mike Glennon's an 83.1. And then there's a comparison, because Jeff Hostetler was a backup, took the Giants to win the Super Bowl. Jeff Hostetler's quarterback rating for his career was an 80.5. So Mike Glennon's quarterback rating is actually better than Jeff Hostetler's. Although I would rather have Jeff Hostetler in there anytime, because we saw what he did in 1990 when he helped the Giants go to the Super Bowl. But all things considering, Mike Glennon's, this ain't his first rodeo. He's been in the league since 2013. He's played in a lot of games. He's thrown some passes. He's got some touchdowns, interceptions. He has experience. Is he somebody you want to put in there and take you to the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. But as far as an experienced quarterback that can go in and be serviceable, absolutely. Now the Dolphins, they're on a roll. They started 1-7. They've won their last 4 games. And actually, the first week of the season, when they started 1-0, they beat the Patriots. I believe it was in New England, 17-16. And since then, New England's been on a roll since then. But the Dolphins were on the last 4 games they won. They beat Carolina, who's just falling apart. They beat I believe the Jets. They beat the Texans. However, they did beat the Ravens, and they only held the Ravens to 10 points. So that's something there. They have only given up in those last 4 games that they've won. They've only given up 11.5 points per game. So the defense, they're playing not very good offensive teams, which the Giants are. Not a very good offensive team, and they're only giving up 11.5 points per game the last 4 games. And Tua, offensively, he's on a hot streak. As far as completing passes. All right. They did a thing. I don't know how these guys look these stats up, and it's sometimes just mind-boggling the stats that they have. But they went back throughout the history of the NFL. All right. Any quarterback in any given month, meaning not a 4 weeks, not half of November into half of December. No. Has to be like all of November, all of December. That's the month, okay? So any quarterback in any given month in the history of the NFL who's thrown at least 75 passes, Peyton Manning has the number 1 accuracy of all time. They didn't say how many passes he wound up throwing in a month. I'm sure it's far surpasses what Tua did. But the number 2 quarterback of all time in a given month who has thrown at least 75 passes in a given month, the second highest completion percentage of all time was Tua. He did that last month in November. He completed 80.5% of his passes. So, I mean, he only threw 77 passes in the whole month. He was 62 out of 77. He was one completion shy of tying Peyton Manning's record. So, but only threw 77 passes. So if you look at it like, what do we got? 4 games, 77. I mean, he's throwing like 19 passes a game. So it's not like he's 38 out of 40 or something like that. I mean, so he's completing like 16 out of 19 or something. Somewhere around 15 out of 19, 16 out of 19, so a very high completion percentage. He's just not throwing a lot of passes. But, so he's on a little bit of a roll lately. Now, the Dolphins are trying to become the 4th team in NFL history to go from 1-7 to 6-7. They started 1-7. They lost their next 7 games. And then they won their last 4, so now they're 5-7. Now, actually, I mean, if you want to look at it, the Dolphins, they got to play the Giants, they got to play the Jets, and they got to play the Saints. 3 teams are not really lighting the world on fire. The Dolphins could theoretically go 8-7. They could go from 1-7, 8-7. Their last 2 games are tough. They got to play the Titans in Tennessee. Then they finish up they start the season with the Patriots and they end the season with the Patriots. So the last 2 games are going to be difficult. But theoretically, I mean, the Dolphins, if they beat the Giants, they could almost go 8-7, and they would be right there in the playoff hunt. I mean, they could lose their last 2 games, but I mean, wouldn't that be amazing to go from 1-7, 8-7? Now the Giants' defense, okay, they're obviously we know they're doing good, but they've had a takeaway in the last 13 games. And they've had an interception. Okay, this is the longest streak in the NFL right now. They've had an interception in 8 straight games. So the Giants' defense is starting to turn things around. Since week 7, all right, when they were playing the Panthers, the Giants have only given up 335 yards per game. Unlike before that, they were giving up 401 yards per game. So they first 6 weeks of the season, they were giving up 29.5 points per game. Since then, since week 7 against Carolina, they've only given up 15.2 points per game. So they're a little bit like the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins have only given up 11.5 points per game the last 4 games. And since week 7, the Giants have only given up 15.2 points per game. So, you got to feel confident, comfortable with the Giants going in. Especially, I mean, the Dolphins don't have a phenomenal offense by any stretch of the imagination. Now, the Dolphins, they blitz. They're blitzing. They blitz about 38% of the time. All right. They're kind of like a little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They blitz the most at any team, 38% of the time. They're very good at, they do a lot of cover 0. Basically, they just blitz, and every guy in the secondary picks up somebody. So it's a lot of man on man. So they've had a lot of passes defense. They're number 1 in passes defense with 70. They're number 1 at quarterback knockdowns. The quarterback knockdown percentage. They knock quarterback down 13.3% of the time. They've had 63 quarterback knockdowns, which is number 1 in the NFL. So they blitz a lot. They knock the quarterback down a lot, but they're only tied for 10th in sacks, which is 28, which is also a little skewed because they played an extra game. They played 12. Most of the teams in the NFL only played 11. So if you take 1 game away from the Dolphins, they'd have like 25 or 26 sacks, which is like the middle of the pack. So they knock the quarterback down a lot, they blitz a lot, but they don't have a boatload of sacks. I mean, 28, with an extra game in there, it certainly is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not the elite. especially if you figure somebody team that blitzes that much. Now, quarterback, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, they blitz so much, they knock the quarterback down a lot. But as far as quarterback hurries, they're tied for 22nd in the league. They only hurry the quarterback 9.3% of the time. However, they get pressure. Number one, they've had 139 quarterback pressures. They're number 8 overall. They get quarterback pressures 27% of the time. So they're like a little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, they blitz a lot, but they don't always get to the quarterback. But they knock them down, but they don't get sacks. So I mean, the Giants are going to really have their work cut out for them. You know, especially their offensive line. The Dolphins, 3 of the last 4 opponents they've held to 305 yards or less. So if things start going bad for the Giants, you could really start seeing. You can see this be a real big stinker if the Giants aren't careful. Miami's red zone defense is fantastic. They're number 5 in red zone defense. Out of 45 red zone trips, they've only given up touchdowns 23 times. They've given up 51% of the time they've given up. Basically half the time you get in the red zone, they give up a touchdown, which is number 5 overall. Very, very good. Their run defense is number 10 in the league as far as rushing yards and touchdowns allowed. They're very good on outside, covering the outside. So if Saquon gets the ball, you know, I know he's not the greatest at running north and south. Devontae Booker is. Saquon likes to get it, maybe bounce outside and stuff like that. Well, the Dolphins are very good at that. So there's going to have to be, if he starts thinking about bouncing it outside, he might be in for a long day. So keep an eye out maybe for Devontae Booker to get a few more carries, especially going north and south, because Devontae isn't Saquon. He's not great at bouncing it outside, but Devontae's just get the ball and just go up north and south. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that there. Now we got Barkley, all right, we got Booker, we got Golladay, we got Ingram, we got Slayton. I guess we might have Chris Myrack, might have Farrell Cooper, maybe Colin Johnson in there. I mean, it would be nice if we had some of our other guys in there. The Dolphins, okay, on their side of the ball, their offense, they've given up 29 sacks. All right, so they give up some sacks, although they have given up an extra game in there. But the Giants have only had 21 sacks, and you figure that's in 11 games. The one game against Carolina, the Giants had 6 sacks. So if you take that one game away, in the other 10 games, the Giants have had 15 sacks. So if the Giants can somehow find a way to get some pressure on Tua, that would be huge. Absolutely huge. The Dolphins offense, Jaylen Waddle, very good. He has 77 receptions so far this year. I mean, the dude just gets open. Their run game is horrible though. All right, their run game is number 31 in the league at 3.4 yards per carry. The Giants ain't much better, but they're number 31, 3.4 yards per carry. So they do not run the ball very well. They're number 28 in the league at 962 rushing yards, and that's with an extra game that they've played. They're tied for number 5 at 80 penalties. So they commit a lot of penalties, especially a lot on the offensive line too. And they only have 15 passing touchdowns. Giants only got 11. So they ain't saying much, but they don't have a juggernaut of an offense. All right, their longest run this year is 24 yards. The Giants is 46. So their running game is not, is nothing really. I mean, the Giants should really try to think about buckling down on those receivers and let them try to beat them with the run game. Don't let Tua get out and start scrambling around and stuff. Keep him in the pocket. I know I'm asking a lot. Try to get some pressure on him. If you can get some pressure, maybe you can get some sacks, because they do give up sacks. They give up sacks. and they can't run the ball very well. So try to buckle down as best you can on those wide receivers. Now, another one of the things is they fumbled 22 times so far, and they've had 10 interceptions. So they give up, they give up penalties, they give up fumbles, they give up interceptions. So if the Giants don't beat themselves, it's going to be huge. Now, as I said, the Dolphins do a lot of man-on-man. They blitz the quarterback, a lot of man-on-man. So they basically, they do like a cover zero. There's like nobody deep. Not all the time, but quite often. Meaning like they'll blitz like maybe 6 guys, and each one of the defensive backs is somebody's got the covers the tight end man-on-man. Somebody covers the 2 wide receivers or the 3 wide receivers. Somebody's got Barkley out of the backfield, and it's just like man on man. Miami's defense, because with the pressure and good, decent man-on-man coverage, they're like the 6th best overall. They only give up 61.9% completion rate, which is a lot better than what the Giants do. Because the Giants play off the guys. They let them go in front of them. The quarterback throws a short pass. They catch the ball. They get 6 to 10 yards, whatever. They run up and they make the tackle. They play it all over again. The Giants lay off the receiver. The quarterback hits them short. The Giants run up and tackle. So the Giants give up a higher completion percentage. The Giants don't. The Giants are like the exact opposite. The Giants let them catch the passes, but you're not catching anything deep. That's not happening. Miami is like they're all over you, but if you beat them, you can beat them long. Because if you beat the one guy covering you, if he don't make the tackle, you're off to the races. They're really good. I said only give up 61.9% completion percentage, but they're number 1 worst at giving up passing yards. They've given up 3,001 with an extra game. Okay, keep that in mind. But they've given up 3,150 yards passing so far. They're number 7 overall, all right? With the 7th worst, they've given up 20 touchdown passes. And they're number 9 overall, giving up the yards per completion, 11.6 yards per completion. So, when you complete a pass, you get some yards. So it's a little Dr. Jack. It's like, they don't give up a lot of completions, but when they do, they're big. They give up a lot of yards passing. So it's a lot of it's going to be, obviously what Freddie Kitchen, see what he dials up. It'll be interesting to see. Mike Lennon, he's going to have to be on his P's and Q's, get ready to dump stuff out. And in one respect, this is not bad. Let him come in and see if he can get something to Saquon. Saquon's one-on-one. Let Saquon maybe, do his thing, and maybe he can, throwing something up deep, up high to Kenny Golladay. Maybe trying to, once again, throw something deep or high to Evan Ingram. Be huge. I said it would be, if this defense, if we had Sterling Shepard or Kadarius Toney, would be freaking phenomenal, because those guys can get away from their defenders and find a way to get open. That would be huge. But, obviously, you can only do what you can only do. So, between like Golladay and Slayton, Evan Ingram and, Booker, Myrick, Saquon, the offensive line is going to be huge. If we're going to run the ball, we're going to have to run the ball north and south. If we're going to pass the ball, it's got to be either real quick stuff or just like Golladay or maybe Ingram, something, go down and just throw it up deep. But you have to complete some passes against this team. If you complete some passes, as you see, at their average, every time they give up a completion, it's more than a first down. So you gotta, you can't beat you can't put the holding penalties. You can't get sacks and fumbles, strip fumbles, run back for touchdown. You can't give the Dolphins anything easy. You got to make them earn everything. Every point they get, make them drive the length of the field. Let Tua try to beat you with his arm, because they're not going to beat you running the ball. So the defensive backs is going to be a big game for them. Keep, obviously, I'm sure the way Graham's going to be, keep everything in front of them, let them march, make them march down the field, make them earn all their points. But it's going to be interesting to see what Freddie dials up against this blitz-happy Miami Dolphin team. And as I said, don't forget, the Giants, certainly any given Sunday, absolutely. Can the Giants win this game? Absolutely. Are they going to? I'm not going to predict that, but absolutely, of course they can. Dolphins aren't anything super special. Then again, neither are the Giants. But just keep in mind, New York, every game is different. Every year is different. I get that. But the New York Giants have never, ever lost in Miami. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo!